Penguins have got some problems. They've won one time in the last 9 games. They're in the basement of the Metropolitan. I know it's only November. One trade. Andrew, I want to talk about it. Diagnose the problem in your estimation. Why are the Penguins losing as they are?
Well, they're slower. I think a lot of people are going to say that. But I'm going to start with the goaltender. I think he's awful. I think he's very overrated. I think he's done nothing to prove in his career that he's a great goaltender. We want to lump him there because he's won 2 Stanley Cups and he's come up clutch and he's won important games, the most important games. But he's never done it over the course of a season. And now they don't have, well, they do, but I don't think they want to give DeSmith the job. There's only one starting goaltender in the league with a worse save percentage than Matt Murray, and that's Mike Smith in Calgary. So when you're getting 30 out of 31 net minding, to me, that's where the problem starts. You can't have an awful goaltender, and they do right now.
Andrew, I'll agree that a lot of it goes on Murray for his play, but I mean, the guys in front of him have been atrocious. I mean, people walking into the slot just ripping wrist shots, people hanging out in front, banging home rebounds, and that's happening not just in front of Murray, that's happening in Smith has played better. Murray does have to steal them some games when they don't play as well in front of him. But this is a team-wide thing. This is a team just not looking interested in playing hockey at any point before Thanksgiving. Who knows? Maybe it'll be before Christmas. Maybe they'll lollygag until Valentine's Day and miss the playoffs this year. I don't know. But they don't look invested in this game right
I think there's a lot of trickle-down from the Justin Schultz injury. The power play hasn't looked the way that it should. That Justin Schultz affects that. Guys like Jack Johnson are playing far too many minutes on the blue line. I think Justin Schultz affects that. And there's no depth scoring. If it's not one of the couple superstars, no one else scores. And guys like, I think, Justin Schultz impacts that. I'm not making him out to be the greatest player ever. But I think the dominoes fall, and they fall in succession. And that injury was bigger than a lot of people anticipated it would be for the Penguins.
Is there a little bit of a disconnect between GM and coach? And here's what I say about that.
There's an enormous one.
Well, first, I look at Daniel Sprong. We heard what Jim Rutherford said about Sprong, which was he was going to be a top 6 guy. And clearly Mike Sullivan doesn't necessarily agree with that, Andrew. But you look at Reeves. You can go back to Cole. These are differences of opinions about personnel. And we saw a trade this week. Tell me about that, and while you're at it, tell me about that trade. Do you think it was meant to shake everybody up, or was it a good trade?
No, it was a bad trade. You take on somebody else's problem. There's more term and there's more money on the contract. The guy can't score. You hope a change of scenery changes him, and you get slower in the process, which is the exact, probably for me, the last thing you want to do. So that's first off. As far as Rutherford and Sullivan goes, see, here's what I'll say about that. You've got a general manager here that is more transparent than any general manager I've ever seen or been around. So we know, because of how much Sullivan talks before games, after games, and how honest Rutherford is, we know who Rutherford's players are and who Sullivan's players are. We know how Sullivan felt about Kessel, and we knew that Rutherford's answer was different because of how honest they were at the end of the year. So it's very public here. We see their differences more. I don't know who Colbert's guys are and who Tomlin's are.
Well, let me ask you
because those guys don't talk as much as
well,
these
first
guys
of all,
do.
I think the trade will work out. I think he took a big gamble, and I think it will pay off. I kind of do like the trade, to be honest with you.
But he can't skate, which is great.
Because of years of control. No,
right.
Let me ask you this, though. Let me ask you this, Andrew. We've seen this in baseball before with Neil Huntington, and we know this has happened. Telly Clint Hurdle. This guy's in the lineup, and he's playing this position.
Yeah.
Why can't Jim Rutherford wield a heavier stick and say, listen, Sully, Sprong plays, and he plays on this line, and I want him to, and he's going to play tonight? Why can't that happen?
Would you want that? If you're a 2-time Stanley Cup winning coach, you want your GM dictating who
they're
plays
not
and
winning
doesn't?
games right now. So he has said that the room wasn't working. Those were his words, not mine, whenever he made the trade. That the atmosphere in the room wasn't really working. I mean, I
don't know. If I'm Sullivan, I think I've done enough where I don't want my general manager dictating to me who I play and who they play with.
Well, nothing else is working right now, Andrew. And the next shoe to drop is going to be another trade, because Rutherford's not going to sit around and wait. And when he starts to trade all the players away that Sullivan's a big fan of, maybe then he'll put Daniel Sprong in the lineup.
So I'm not saying Daniel Sprong is going to cure all their ills.
Daniel Sprong's not
the
answer.
No, but he's not getting a legitimate chance either. You have to get a chance before you can evaluate.
Here's what you guys are implying, that the coach is part of the problem. That there are lineup changes that should be made, that the GM built a team for it to be presented and played in a certain way, and the coach won't do it.
No, what I'm
so you're making Sullivan out to be a problem.
It's okay to make Sidney Crosby uncomfortable. It's okay to make Mike Sullivan uncomfortable.
Why won't he do it?
I don't know. I have no idea why he won't do it. We heard how many years have we heard that Daniel Sprong is great? He's the best. He's going to be incredible.
From Rutherford.
Right.
Yeah, but he had a good year offensively last year. Wilkes-Barre
Play him.
Scranton, he filled the net in the second half of the year.
Just give me 2 games on the first line. Just give me 2 games when the lights come down on him. He knows he's playing with Sid. Give me a couple games like that.
Real quick.
Where he knows walking in the building, he's the man.
Chris, let me ask you this. Should Sullivan change the way they play, or is it too late to do that with this group of guys?
I don't know how you change it on the fly with a group that's now, I think, the second oldest team in the NHL.
Well, you become a half-court offense, and you don't try to stretch pass and do what you did 2 years ago.
They don't have the speed to do what they did a couple years ago. So the question is going to be,
what
if they're
I'm
going to get in that quote-unquote half-court offense, Bob, who's going to shoot the puck? I mean, Gino Malkin is passing up open shots in the high slot. They're still trying to make all the pretty plays, whether it be 5-on-5 or on the power play. They need to simplify this thing, and they need to do it quick.
Hey, Bob, you think you're babysitting Phil Kessel now? Turn it into the New Jersey Devils from a couple years ago.
But here's what
happens.
I don't get. If you have a coach that wants to play a speed game, why aren't you giving him the players to do that? Why are you bringing Jack Johnson in? Why are you bringing in a guy in his 40s?
Think Daniel Sprong can play that speed game?
Maybe he can. But he hasn't scored a goal yet this year. I don't know. I don't know why you're subtracting speed off a team when that is, in the coach's opinion, their competitive advantage.
Well, we'll find out. Tomorrow they have the Buffalo Sabres, and before you laugh at that, the Sabres, I think, have won 12 games already. And we'll see what the Penguins can do on Sidney Crosby bobblehead night. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's now time to go around the horn for this week's Smooth Moves, brought to you by Pittsburgh's largest supplier of the smoothest granite, marble, and quartz countertops. That would be Armina Stone. Smoothest move of the week. Andrew, start with you.
I'm going to go with the Cleveland Browns for Condoleezza Rice, right? I mean, you might as well think outside the box. Every coach you've hired has failed since you've come back into the NFL. So why let football experience, coaching experience, really any football resume get in the way of hiring somebody to do the job? So props to Cleveland.
Another coaching hire I'm going to go with. This one's a college one, though. Props to the Jayhawks. We talk about them all the time on the Fan Morning Show. They avoid the temptation to hire Todd and Penny Graham, and they go with Les Miles. Good job, KU.
My smooth move. Andrew, I know you're a big college football historian. You know who's ranked for the first time since 1996? Army, the Black Knights. I think it's always great. They only have 2 losses. I think it's great when the service academies do well. Go Army. I'm excited about them.
Well, speaking of ranked, Pitt is ranked. More on that coming up next. We're going to talk about the Panthers, but those are the Smooth Moves of the week, brought to you by Armina Stone. They feature Pittsburgh's largest indoor stone gallery of granite and marble countertops imported from all over the world to give you the smoothest in the area. Score a touchdown with countertops from Armina Stone. We'll be right back with Pitt Talk next.